Hey there, Sagittarius. How are you doing? By Sagittarius, I mean Sagittarius ascendant or rising sign, however you call it. So this is a forecast for the Sagittarius ascendant energy for the whole year ahead. And you might think, oh my God, it's March. It's not the new year, but this is the astrological new year. The sun is just going into the sign of Aries. And so this is a huge moment, I think. And so this is a forecast taking you from the 20th of March, 2026, right the way through to the 20th of March, 2027. And of course, that's a huge undertaking to talk about all of the influences coming up for this year ahead. And so here's how I'm doing it. I'm going to comment on the outer planets, and the nodes, and also the eclipses are occurring over the next year, so that you get a feel for the key trends, that we're answering these questions like, where are you healing, where are you innovating, etc., etc. And that should give you a real sense of what's coming up about the hidden architecture of 2026 to 2027. I've also mentioned 4 important times and why, and I'll be doing that at the end of this forecast. So let's have a good look. Let's see what's coming up. Now, I want to start with the nodal pattern, and this is really highlighted by these 2 yellow mustardy wedges. And to do that, I just want to take a step back. The North Node went into the sign of Pisces early in 2025 and has been going through your 4th house. I should say this is using a whole sign model, by the way. When you look at your birth chart, you've got Sagittarius and Capricorn in your 1st house. That's a nudge to also listen to the Capricorn forecast. Anyway, so yeah, the North Node went into your 4th house at the beginning of 2025, and it's brought up, I think, new and fresh challenges about your feelings of security. Like, how can I experience a feeling of security? How can I know that my home, my life, my family, how can I maybe be prepared with them? How can I look after them? How can I keep them safe? How can our stability feel amazing? This is about learning about your stability with your family. Now, I've actually been going through this with you. And so, my experience of this has been a time when I've had to learn to ground myself in a new way, where I've, even if I have, what looks like security, it's actually a much deeper thing. This is coming to the root of, what in my personality is preventing me from feeling completely stable. And so in many ways, it goes beyond the house and beyond the family, and actually really comes back to the root of you. But the North Node is always showing us where we can go deeper, and where problems will cycle if we don't, take them by the hand. And so this has been a huge invitation to you to get stable in yourself, and to really enjoy being you as well, actually. Now, we've still got a little bit of time in the sign of Pisces. And then on July the 26th, the North Node's going to head into Aquarius, which is much more, it opens things up a little bit. I think the 3rd and the 4th really have a sense of belonging, by the way. Which family do I belong to, and which community do I belong to? And so I actually think, how can you feel stable and like you belong outside of your family is going to be something that really comes up, and you're going to get opportunities to practice this. Do you feel comfortable being your weird self out and about? Do you feel comfortable? Have you got the right kind of friends in your local community? Do you feel that you do have people around you? This may bring up some of the thoughts and feelings that you had as a youngster, growing up in the community that was assigned for you. And I say that assigned because obviously if you're growing up, wherever your home and your parents are, or the people acting as parents, wherever you're raised, you have that community, whether you like it or not. It is just your community. And, sometimes the community around us isn't actually the right one for us, that's really bringing out the best. And so the North Node here is really going to get us to consider our suitability within the community we live in. It's really going to help us become more of like the community furniture, like you're the furniture inside the house. You know, it feels like you're going to be taking part in the community a lot more. And of course, when you start taking part and becoming a lot more visible, that's going to start changing your life. Now, at the same time, the South Node is always, moving in opposite directions. And so the South Node here is reminding you, actually, you don't really need to focus so much on your career, even if you are, because apparently that brings you more success. You'll actually realize it really doesn't bring you more like stability, like having success up here doesn't equate to more stability down here. It's a misnomer. And so what you might be realizing up here with the South Node going through the 10th is it's really not about your success. You can absolutely do success standing on your head. This is reminding you that success, whilst important, because a node's going through it, isn't the thing that you're heading towards. It's the security. Now, similarly, when the nodes change on the 26th of June, the tendency, July, the tendency that you have had to travel to find the right people, to travel to meet your people and to feel at home, so you found a community outside of your culture, outside of your religious belief systems, your spirituality, your political beliefs. Interestingly, as the South Node comes in here, you realize actually it's got very little to do with where you travel to find it, but the North Node is showing you the right people around you, the right community is right in front of you. You've, maybe just had some kind of idea that it just happens over here, you have to move far away, but actually the challenge and the gift here is to realize it's always around you. Wherever you are, there are still people that you can feel at home with. So I think this is going to be quite interesting. I also think you're going to be relearning a lot of your foundational information. So whatever you're an expert in, you're going to be going back to basics and enjoying the whole process of going back to basics, So really the journey outward isn't actually the focus. It's the journey inward and almost the journey behind, the journey where we've come from, that actually you're going to get more learning from. And so the more you can do this ahead of time, I think the better off you'll feel. So this is really helping you in many ways learn to love your roots and learn to see the true value in them. So it's very special. Now, all the eclipses that happen during this time are going to absolutely be happening in this place. So you could say this has got a lot to do with belonging, and this has got to do with traveling or working to get that feeling of belonging. So, this is bringing you back to the idea that you don't have to do anything to belong. You just have to belong. And we're going to come more to this, when we really speak about Pluto here. Anyway, Jupiter, our next planet or the next thing to focus on, he starts the whole conversation of this year ahead going in the 8th house in the sign of Cancer. And, when he came into the 8th house, I think he's brought a bit of hope and optimism about family, old family troubles and traumas. You've got a whole new way of seeing things, most likely a little bit more compassion for yourself and a lot more of a sense of humor about the people that maybe, through your shared relationship, maybe, suppressed you or kept you in your place, not necessarily from a horrible conspiracy against you, but, just because they're also frail humans that make mistakes. I'm not condoning abuse, by the way. But Jupiter in the sign of Cancer and in your 8th house has really brought a feeling of hope, I think. And he probably will have also inflamed a few situations just so you can see them from a new perspective. And then, from the 29th of June, he's heading into Leo, and he's going to rush right the way through Leo very quickly, almost to the end. He gets to 27 degrees and he starts a retrograde back. Now, when Jupiter comes into the 9th, this is going to really open you up. It's interesting that I'm talking about belonging, because when he comes up here, you're going to have so many opportunities to move, to travel, to connect, like especially with people overseas. the local internal context of your life, it may well seem a little bit boring because Jupiter's absolutely going to open up ideas. You'll probably want to study in a huge way. And if you're not studying, you want to teach and share from your experiences. And so absolutely, I can see how that can happen. And it's a huge like openness coming in. So it really runs counter to what I've been talking about, but I will get to that in a minute. Essentially, I think this is really helping you find some freedom after having considered the ins and outs and the minutiae of old past relationships with family and the things that you've learned. It's like you can finally shrug a lot of this off your shoulders and just enjoy being. So I like Jupiter's position here. Now, Saturn and Neptune, they are fully into the sign of Aries now, and they're in your 5th house. Now, as houses go, wherever Saturn and Neptune are, they can both be troublemakers. Saturn has a sort of slightly pessimistic view. He's very practical and he kind of sucks the life out of things a lot, but he doesn't have to be like that. He can also offer structural support and a sense of discernment. And so when we blend that with the 5th house, especially in the sign of Aries, this is a place where you go to have some fun and to lift yourself up and to feel passionately engaged and expressed as a human being. The 5th house represents our children. It represents conception and birthing and, the whole pregnancy situation, how we come by our children. It also represents new relationships and that new level of sensuality and intimacy. And it really represents the intimacy we have with ourselves. Like, do you really know what's going to lift you up? I mean, most likely we know what our partner's like, what our children want and need. And we forget to ask ourselves, what would feel really divine right now? How could I feel in love with my life? How could I feel really passionate? And so Saturn's coming in here and he's a bit of a buzzkill. He can be experienced as that. Or, and this is the potential that I'm suggesting, he can come in here and help you create some measurement and discernment around the things that lift you up so that you allow the things that are going to lift you up the most to lift you up even more. And the ones that feel like they're lifting you up, but maybe are a huge distraction or a time waste, you can kind of let those go, but focus on the real joy. So I think this can be quite helpful. He absolutely wants you to enjoy yourself in a more structured way. And it doesn't have to equal buzzkill. It really doesn't have to. For instance, if you've got a passion project that you want to turn into a career, this is the perfect opportunity because Saturn's going to help you define what you're creating and measure the impact of what you're creating. And so, the hard work that you put into the stuff that lights you up, it's going to really turbocharge your opportunities. I like this. Now, Neptune, he's going to be in here a lot longer than Saturn. He's in here well over a decade. And wherever Neptune goes, we get super creative, super idealistic. We may even be a bit self-sacrificing. We can really give of ourselves so much. And actually, it's really helpful here where we might self-sacrifice to have Saturn nearby saying, whoa, Neptune, steady on. You're giving yourself away. So this is going to be very helpful, actually. One thing it can do, which you might not want it to do, like Neptune coming here, can really open up your sexual channels and pathways. And if you're single, you can find that you come into a time when a lot more sensuality, sexuality, opportunities for sort of indiscriminate intimacy can arise. And so Saturn here can help you discern, do I actually want to do this? Is this going to help me? Have I actually got the personality that can deal with multiple intimacy? So your intimacy can absolutely go deeper into the sexual side, but Saturn here just keeps you steady. Similarly, like, drugs and partying and stuff like that, Neptune in your 5th can absolutely bring it on in a major way. But again, Saturn here is going to temper that, to make sure that you stay safe and clean and clear about what you're doing. So I actually think the challenge here is to use the Neptune energy in such a way so beautifully that you don't have too much of it around you. I think, where you've got Neptune energy, which can bring you into a place of transcendence, when we're not using that energy consciously, we get this sense of, oh, why am I here? Like this kind of wandering mind, it needs something to do. And so here, the natural activity to focus on is children, is your own creativity, your own spirituality, your own sense of music, dance, singing, anything that's creative and soul based. I think is going to be helpful. And so Saturn can really help you get it off the ground. So I think this is a really uniquely creative place. Now, if you have got children, you might encounter maybe some challenges in being too permissive, which is a very sort of Neptune in the fifth kind of energy. And Saturn can come in to show you some guidelines to help your children express themselves without them wasting their energy or kind of ruining themselves somehow. I mean, Saturn is, I think, a safety mechanism. So yeah, there's a lot of different things going on there, but this is absolutely here to help you enjoy yourself more. Now, Chiron has been here for ages, and he's gonna dip his toe into Taurus from the 19th of June for 3 months, and he's going to come back into the 5th. Wherever Chiron goes, we, can identify with some pain or wounding. And if we're not identifying with our own pain and wounding, we can help other people identify with it. So like once we've done the pain woundedness thing, we become the master, and we help other people, with their own issues. And interestingly, like trauma was such a big catchword with Chiron in Aries. Everyone became, not everyone, but so many people became really switched on to abuse, gaslighting, and all, the identification of all the mechanisms of trauma. With Chiron going into Taurus, I think that's going to change. We're going to be talking about nervous system resets, so we can be calm and clear and gentle with ourselves. Taurus only likes comfort. He doesn't like struggle, and he can be very persistent, but why bring trouble in, unnecessarily? And so the Taurian way of healing is through nature and through comfort. In Aries, we kind of broke open everything and went really into the guts and the rawness of it. But as Chiron comes into Taurus, we're healing naturally. We are appreciating natural cycles, natural growth cycles, getting in the sunshine more, getting in the fresh air more, seeing natural light is really important. I say that jokingly because obviously I've got studio lights on me and a computer screen. It doesn't get better than that, does it? So as Chiron comes into your 6th house, this is a house of natural health and healing, actually. The 6th house is absolutely about how do I stay in a healthy routine. And he's also looking at your natural routines for everything, actually. So Chiron here is going to say, do you know what? Let's take your diary. Let's look at it. Oh my God, you're doing that much? Why are you working so hard? Bloody hell, you're doing this. Okay, calm down. So Chiron's going to come and look at your diary and rearrange things. So what I actually think is going to start happening is you're going to take out a load of things that you don't need to do, that you're just doing because you think you got to keep up appearances or this is what everyone does. You're going to let go of the stuff that is just distracting you from your comfort, and then keep the things in that are comfortable, natural, and fit in and give you plenty of rest time. I think rest and restoration is going to be the new theme for you. And that's great because let's face it, Sagittarius rising, you drive yourself nuts with all of your enthusiasm and confidence. So this is going to be great. This is going to be very helpful and healing. And so you're going to get a heads up on this in the summer. So I do recommend that you have an outdoor summer and that it impresses you so much that it kind of changes you. But he will be coming back here after New Year, like the astrological New Year in 2027. So he will be back and he'll be here for many years. So you might as well get a head start in the embodiment of comfort. That's what Chiron is there for. And of course, you might already be excellent at managing your comfort? If so, the side of you that is the coach or the guide or the helper, the healer, you're going to be leading by example. And, people may well feel like they want to listen to you. So I think it's a very great opportunity. Now, pair that with Uranus, who is now coming into the sign of Gemini on the 26th of April, 2026. When he fully comes over, if you've got a message that you want to send far and wide, Uranus in the sign of Gemini is going to really help that. By the way, my astrological career really started to take off, like where I didn't have to worry about getting clients and things, when Uranus came into my seventh. When Uranus comes into your seventh, you can be spontaneously connected to people. Uranus represents the internet, interestingly. So the internet and relationships, it really adds emphasis to that. It's a really good connection point. But it does also bring in an energy of needing extra freedom in your relationships. And so you may well find that the people in your life are disturbingly free. And I say that, because obviously with the Sagittarius rising, you want to be free yourself and you want other people to feel pretty free and unfettered too. However, it might feel that the people around you are less reliable suddenly and they feel a little bit more edgy. Really what I see is what goes on in the seventh house projects. It's a projection of what you're not accepting in yourself. So if you're seeing that your partner is all of a sudden, saying, okay, I'm going to give up work, or I'm going to do this, or I want to travel more, or this, that, and the other, you could think, oh my God, that's hugely irresponsible. How could you? We've got a commitment, or whatever it is that goes on. But they're inviting you to give up all the responsibilities that you've got too. There is the subtle invitation is, if you're allowing freedom, or not allowing, but if you're supporting your partners and your friendships and the people in your life to be more free, then it's also inviting you into the same level of freedom. It's not an easy lesson to learn. I'm still learning it myself. But this is really freeing you up. This is freeing you up from any social conditioning whereby you felt you had to do things a certain way. This is really giving you the energy and the green light to free yourself. And to have relationships that are based on freedom, like completely based on freedom, not on obligation, but coming from a place of you are actually choosing each other. You're choosing to be with each other in this time frame. Obviously, you can't really talk outside of that time frame, because the moment you do, you're limiting each other's freedom. But it's like a continuous choice. Could you imagine how transformed your life would be if your relationships became a continuous choosing, rather than I choose once and that's it, for done and dusted? It doesn't really allow for growth. And so there is this choosing energy that's coming up. And similarly, if you're launching a career, for instance, if your passion career is really coming on, and and you're healing yourself and you're feeling good, and Jupiter's coming here in the 9th, then of course things are going to transform for you. Which brings me on to Pluto, because Pluto and Uranus are really working hand in hand. They're working in a beautiful trine. They've been there for a while. That's going to continue for a while as well. But the message here, I think, is about people. There's your local community that you're now sort of powerfully connecting in. You might realize that wherever I go, there I am. Wherever I go, there are people that I connect with, even in a day-to-day community that looks really parochial and really terrestrial and pedestrian. It's absolutely fine. You'll always find your people wherever you are. You might just be a snob. You might just think, oh, like these high-minded people aren't going to be here, are they? And boom, they're your neighbors. Everybody can connect with you at a deeper level. And so I think you're going to be connecting more in an insightful and personal way around you, with the people around you, and also making connections far and wide. And so this is a real sort of transformation of all of your relationships. It's massive. And so as we come into, and you might choose to surrender, so anywhere where you've thought, God, I've got to get out of this place. There's nothing for me here. Actually, Pluto's saying, really? And when you can surrender to that kind of location snobbery, or community snobbery, like nobody gets me. That's the invitation here, is how can you let that go? How can you just surrender and think wherever I am is exactly where I need to be right now? And it's the surrender to that. And that's when the magic's going to happen. So between the 19th and 23rd of July, we've got this lovely 4-degree aspect. Pluto's at 4 degrees Aquarius, Neptune's 4 degrees Aries, Saturn's nearby. Uranus is at 4 degrees Gemini, Jupiter's 4 degrees Leo. This is super special. There's this really fast moving supported energy. Wherever it is, you're progressing, you're moving, you're shifting. It's all coming into place. You've had practice runs of this with Saturn and Neptune in Aries last year, and Uranus in Gemini. Aquarius has been here, like Pluto's been in Aquarius for quite some time now. You would have practiced this just 12 years ago. I say just, it sounds like that's ages ago. But 12 years ago, Jupiter would have been up here, sort of making your life so much more fun and interesting. So there's a lot of pieces coming together, and this is going to move you forwards very quickly. Now, there's also 3 other times I want to mention. The first one is the new moon in Aries, which is actually, not that far away, like 3 to 4 weeks away, where we got 7 planets in Aries. And so that's really going to be highlighting, what are you creating right now with passion and discipline? What creations have you got right now that could really lift you up? And also, if you've got children, make sure that everything to do with your children is safe, enjoyable, create a lovely environment. I would just urge you to just double check that everything to do with your children is all working out properly. Anywhere where you've got loose ends with your children, I would get them sewn up before this time, because there's so many planets in the fifth in the 5th house. You really just want to know that everything is good. So again, with that child energy, use that energy to, if you've got children, use this energy to do lots of great things with your kids. So you're really sucking up all that planetary energy in Aries that should lift you and your children up. If you haven't got children, then put it to your creativity, really use it. Then the next big time would be when there's the full moon in your 1st house on the 31st of May. This can be a time when we feel a bit overwhelmed. Full moons in the 1st house are very emotional and overwhelming. You won't really feel like yourself, and it just feels like, oh my God, so much is coming at me. So a good week before then, start clearing away some of the debris. If you already know something's not for you, let it go. Let it go, so you don't have to be doing the Harry Potter sorting hat with every flipping influence that comes into your life. Just sort the things you want, and then you can really swirl around with all the current themes around the time of the full moon. The next time is the 9th of December, because around that time, you're really there for a reset. And so when I piece all these together, I think the new moon in Aries is really setting the tone that something's going to change with your children and or your creativity, or both. And it could also, show a new intimacy. I mean, that would be really great if you're single and really wanting that. So there's this really strong emphasis on what are you birthing right now with passion. Then in July, it just feels like things are really moving forwards beautifully, really helping you to explore your potentials. And it just feels like there's a lot of support. Then, later on, we've got this new moon that's really helping you to embed and integrate, and then kind of reset and relaunch yourself. So I think it's a very exciting time for you. So I hope that's been helpful. If you would like me to look at your chart personally, one-on-one, and go through all of this, or something else, something even deeper, then just get in touch. You can book directly into my Calendly online calendar. The link's below. So just invite me to work with you. If you like my forecast but don't actually want a reading, but you would love to be part of something that feels nurturing, supportive, feels like an astrological home, then come and join my free community on School. The address is www.school, that's skool.com/feelgoodastrology. Come and hang out, get my forecast, come to one of my scheduled hangouts, or even if you really like the feel of it, come and learn with me in the living classroom, and we'll see where it goes. But anyway, have a beautiful year ahead. Loads of love to you, and catch up with you all soon. Bye for now.